A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Five bells. Stand by all stations.
Attention all districts. A 5-alarm fire. 5 bells. Move in immediately.
That's it. Let's roll. Let's go. Firefighters! Presenting Firefighters, the true-to-life story of our unsung heroes who stand ready to ride by day or night against our most murderous enemy, the demon of fire. In just a moment, we'll join Jimmy Collins's pal, Jack Carson, and Mrs. Lane, the cleaning woman, whom Jack is trying to rescue from the burning Butler building. High on the 8th floor, with fire raging on the floors above and below them, they're waiting anxiously for Tim Collins and Deputy Chief Moore to devise some way to save them. Just when it seems there is some chance for success, Jimmy makes a discovery which may make the efforts of Tim and the Chief Moore to no avail. But before we learn the next startling development in the Butler fire, let's listen to this important message. Let's go, firefighters. Let's go to the 8th floor of the burning Butler building where Jack Carson and Mrs. Lane, the cleaning woman, are trapped with fire on the floors below and above them. Tim Collins and Deputy Chief Moore have just discovered their plight and have decided that the only way they can be rescued is by scaling ladder, a pole-like ladder that allows a man to scale the side of a building like a human fly. Meanwhile, up on the 8th floor, Mrs. Lane leans out of the window and exclaims to Jack,
"Jack, come here! A man's just climbed out of a window below. He's starting to climb a pole of some kind."
I see him. Gosh, it's Tim, Jimmy's brother.
Is he a fireman?
Yes. That's a scaling ladder he's using. I hope he makes it.
Oh, it looks awfully flimsy and insecure. Do you think he might
Fall? No, not going up, I don't think. It's going down that's hard, I understand.
Suppose he does reach us, Jack. I couldn't climb down on that bean pole. I simply couldn't.
Oh, Tim will take care of that. If he reaches us in time.
In time? What do you mean?
I didn't want to tell you. But I looked out this office door into the corridor just a moment ago.
The firemen below, they're working their way up to us?
No, Mrs. Lane, but the fire has. The fire's worked its way from below into the corridor right outside our door.
Oh, Jack, what are we going to do?
Just wait and hope and pray that Tim reaches us in time.
Meanwhile, 3 floors below, Tim is slowly working his way up the scaling ladder, an ordeal that is doubly dangerous now, because fire and smoke from the burning floors is pouring from the windows. Deputy Chief Moore is anxiously watching Tim from a window ledge below and giving him advice.
Watch that smoke rolling out of the window, Tim. Is it going to be too much for you?
I don't know yet, Chief. It's pretty bad. I'll see when I get up a little higher.
Well, steady now. There may be flame behind that smoke. And one breath of that and you'd be in
I don't see any flame, but there's plenty of smoke, gas.
Jim, you all right?
Yes, sir, I guess so, but
You need a mask, son. Stay where you are. Don't go any higher. And I'll hand an air pack up to you.
Oh, thanks, Chief. Didn't realize it was so bad.
Here you are, Tim. Can you reach it?
Yes, sir, I got it.
Good.
Yeah, thanks. Now I ought to be able to pull by those smoke-clogged windows.
And, Tim, take this coil of rope along with you.
Yes, sir.
Never know when you'll need it on a job like this.
Yeah, okay. There we are. Well, this time I'm going through, Chief. Steady the scaler, will you?
You sure you got a hook securely in the ledge above?
Yes, sir. She's secure.
Well, good luck, and God bless you, boy.
Thank you, sir. I only hope I'm not too late. This fire's spreading like a plague. On the burning floor, 3 stories above, with the fire creeping down the corridor outside their office retreat, Mrs. Lane is saying to Jack,
Oh, I'm afraid it's no use, Jack. We can never get out of this.
Mrs. Lane, don't talk like that.
Oh.
Tim's on his way up the side of the building to get us. can only keep this fire from getting any closer.
Well, how can we stop it? All we've got are our two bare hands.
I wonder. I'm going to take a look out in the corridor again, see how near the fire is.
Oh, don't, Jack. It's too dangerous.
I want to check on something. Come on, you stand behind the door ready to help slam it shut if the fire's too near.
Oh, Jack, I'm afraid.
I'll take it easy. I'm going to open it now.
How is it?
It's getting here all right, but that's what I was looking for.
What is it, Jack?
The standpipe in the corridor. You know, the pipe with the fire hose you see on every floor of an office building?
Yes, I have noticed them. What are you going to do?
If the firemen are fighting the fire on the floors below, they must be using the building's standpipes. And if that's so, they've got the pumper connected to the standpipe, pumping pressure through the whole building.
I'm afraid I don't follow you, Jack.
You don't have to, Mrs. Lane. All I'm saying is that we can use that fire line down the hall just as well as the firemen below.
The smoke's so awful. We can't get to it, Jack.
I'm going to make it try. If I can drag the line back to this office, maybe we can keep the fire driven back. You stand in the doorway, Mrs. Lane.
Oh, Jack, don't go.
I've got to. If this works, it may save our lives.
Then I'll go too. You'll need help.
Okay, I probably will at that. The smoke's getting pretty bad.
I don't know whether I can stand it.
Get down low, Mrs. Lane. Down close to the floor.
You lead the way, Jack. I'll follow.
That's it. Keep down low. It's only a few feet. Just keep a hold of me. Hey, here's the wall. Wait a minute. Here's the fire hose.
Oh, good.
Now, just turn the valve wheel. Hey, it's tight. Feels like it was painted over or something.
Can't you get it, Jack?
Now, wait a minute. There's a fire axe. Maybe that'll loosen it. There, that got it. Boy, whoever painted that valve wheel. Hey, Mrs. Lane.
Yes, Jack?
Look, get the hose unwound from the reel. The water's about ready to come.
Oh, like this?
Yeah, that's it. You'll be a fireman yet. Here comes the water. Boy, what pressure that pumper makes. Now let's get back to the office with this line.
Fire seems to be nearer, Jack.
Yeah, nearly reached our office. Go on, Mrs. Lane. Open the door.
Oh, I thought we'd never make it.
How? Those flames back. That smoke.
It's too hot, Jack. I can't.
Stand back, Mrs. Lane. I'll handle the hose. I think we're driving the fire back a little.
Oh, thank heavens.
Can't fight it forever, but maybe we can hold out until...
Jack!
Huh?
The window! Somebody!
Jim! He made it! Hey, Jim, here we are over by the door.
You all right, Jack? Oh, gosh, I was afraid of what I'd find.
That's pretty bad, but I got hold of the fire line on this floor.
Oh, good boy. Oh, thank heavens, I see you got the lady, too.
That's Mrs. Lane. I'm afraid we'd better try to get her down in a hurry. I don't think she can stand much more. They've had a pretty hard time of it.
I'm all right. There's no air.
Yeah, you're right, Jack. We've got to work fast. All right, drop the hose and come over here to the window.
Yeah. Fire's right outside the door, Jim. Don't you think one of us ought to keep fighting it back?
No, not time for that. Important thing now is to get you people out of here. And fast. You know, you're a darn fool to come up here in the first place.
Yeah, I know.
But you did save Mrs. Lane, so we'll get you broke a fire rule. All right, now here's how we'll do it.
Down the scaling ladder?
Yeah, down the scaling ladder. You know anything about him?
Well, Jimmy showed me some, but what about Mrs. Lane?
Well, I'll handle her. I want you to go down first to the floor below, Jack.
Huh?
Then straddle the window ledge and wait till we come down. You got it?
I got it. Mrs. Lane.
Huh?
Look, it'll catch her.
Oh, holy smoke, she's fainted.
Mrs. Lane.
That's no use, Jack. She's out like a light.
Gosh, Tim. How are we ever going to get her down now?
Right on the verge of what looked like a successful rescue after their grim ordeal of fire, Mrs. Lane faints. It's hard enough climbing down a swaying scaling ladder 8 stories above the street, but now Tim's faced with the problem of getting an unconscious woman down the scaling ladder. And all the time, the fire outside their office is closing in on them. A tough spot for all three, but especially for rookie fireman Tim Collins, who has the responsibility of saving 2 lives, and if he can, his own. Well, to learn the thrilling climax to this fire drama, be sure to listen to the next true-to-life episode of The Firefighters. In a moment, Deputy Chief Dan Moore will be back with an important word for you boys and girls. But first, a message. And now, Deputy Chief Dan Moore with a special message for the Firefighters Brigade. Deputy Chief Moore.
Hello, boys and girls. Today's episode of the Firefighters reminds me of a very important detail in connection with the care of firefighting equipment. When Jack found the valve wheel on the standpipe painted over so he couldn't turn it, his life and Mrs. Lane's were further needlessly endangered. The working parts, valves, couplings on hose, anything that must be turned on or opened on firefighting apparatus should be kept free of paint and in working order. This applies especially to your home firefighting equipment. Never paint over a working part on your home fire extinguisher. And check up to see that paint hasn't locked the valves on standpipes in your school building. Well, that's all for now. Till I drop in the next time, so long.
Deputy Chief Dan Moore and the young rookie fireman Tim Collins will be back on the same station the next time you hear...
That's it. Let's roll! Let's go! Firefighters!
In just a moment, X-1. But first, if you're planning to join the family for this holiday weekend, remember you have a friend who will keep you company through the long hours on the road. That friend is your car radio, and it brings you a full weekend of the most stimulating variety entertainment when you tune in to NBC's Monitor. Yes, you set your dial just once for hours and hours of refreshing variety. News as it happens, sports coverage, everything from baseball to skin diving, interviews with the stars. Plus, lots of the relaxing music you like to hear. It's all on Monitor this weekend. And now stay tuned for X-1 on NBC. Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire.
From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X-1.
Tonight's story, A Pail of Air, by Fritz Leiber.
It was pretty quiet in the nest. Pa was just sitting by the fire, staring into it like he does these days. And Ma was asleep. That's why it was so quiet. Ma has some pretty bad times when she just screams and screams and huddles back against the blankets that line the nest. Sis was looking at herself in the mirror that hangs next to the bookshelf. I don't know what she finds to look at so long, but then she's a girl. She just looks at herself. Saturdays, when Pa puts a couple of extra lumps of coal on the fire and we take a bath, she looks at herself in the mirror and sometimes she cries. I dropped the book I was reading, and I guess that woke Ma.
Huh? What? What?
Pick up the book, Bud.
I'm sorry, Pa.
It's come back. Hasn't it, Alfred? It's come back.
It was just Bud. He dropped his book.
Oh, but it's come back. It's out there now, isn't it? I feel a lot warmer.
Now, Ethel.
It's up there in the sky. Just the way it always was. I know. I had a dream, Alfred.
I know, dear. Sis, melt your mother a cup of water.
I'm combing my hair.
Sis.
Oh, all right.
Got to get up. I know it's there. There'll be crocuses. And the spring bulbs. And daffodils.
What are daffodils, Ma?
Well, Buddy, they're a flower. And they're very pretty. Yellow on a tall green stalk. Oh, I want to go out. I want to take the children out.
All right now, Ethel. Here's some water.
Come on, children. We'll all go out and you can play in the sun.
Sure, Ma.
Here, drink the water, Ma.
It's cold, Alfred. You rap on the pipes and make that super send up some more heat.
What's a super, Pa?
It doesn't matter, Bud. There aren't any anymore.
Oh.
Pa, the pail's running low.
Bud, you better get into your things and go out and get an extra pail of air.
There are a couple of pails behind the first blankets.
Go on, get into your things.
It isn't back, is it?
No, it isn't.
There's no sun in the sky. No sun, is there?
No, Ma. What was it like?
The sun.
Sis, don't get your Ma upset.
The sun was yellow. And so bright you couldn't look at it. Burning hot. So hot. But when you stretched out in it, made you feel warm all over. Tingly warm. It's been so long since I've been that warm.
I was warm last year on my birthday when Pa put all that extra coal on.
And then every morning it would come out of the east. Make the clouds all pink and yellow. And the mist would rise in the ground, and then slowly everything would glow warmer, warmer. And then it would be up there in the sky, shining, warm.
Hurry up, Bud.
I'm almost ready, Pa.
I want the sun. I want the sun back. Alfred, get me the sun.
It's gone, Ethel. There's nothing I can do.
For Christmas? On my birthday?
Go ahead, Bud. Take the big pail and get it full this time. There's no sense in taking the trip for only half a bucket of air.
I spilled it the last time.
It's dark, Alfred, it's dark.
Go ahead, Bud. Strap down the helmet, will you, sis?
For goodness sake, stand up straight.
Okay. All right, I'll be right back.
Don't hold the blankets open too long. All right, Ethel. We're all safe. Bud will be right back with another pail of air. It's all right.
I went through the 30 or so blankets that Pa hung up to slow down the air escaping from the nest. Of course, I knew the way. I've been going out for air since I was a kid. Still, I get a funny, crawly feeling every time I go out of the nest. You gotta go up to the 5th floor, which is just above the blanket of frozen air. You see, when the earth got cold, all the water in the air froze first and made a blanket about 10 feet thick or so. And then down on top of that dropped all the crystals of frozen air, making another blanket 60 or 70 feet thick. I came out of the window we use on the 5th floor and started to scoop up the air into my pail. I had it about full. Boy, my fingers are getting pretty cold when I saw something. Hey, that's a light. Oh, darn it, I kicked over the bucket. Oh, there can't be a light. Not moving around in a window like that. There can't be. Ma and Pa and Sis are back in the nest. I'm up here, and there can't be anyone else. Everybody on Earth is dead except us. idea how Ma must feel sometimes, the way she sees things. But there it was, moving around in the building across the way. I stood there shaking, and I almost froze my feet. I did frost my helmet so solid on the inside I couldn't see anything. So I hurried up and scooped up another bucket of air and headed back to the nest as fast as I could. Pa, I saw something.
Go on, hang those outside clothes up by the fire.
Phew. Pa, I saw something. I did.
Your mother's quiet now. Don't upset her.
Pa, it was a light.
Wait till I get this air next to the fire. Give me the cloth, sis.
Shall I put another lump of coal on, Pa?
No. The oxygen from this bucket will get the fire up when it begins to melt. There.
Pa, I'm trying to tell you, I saw something up there. Light.
There's lots of lights. Stars.
I know what stars look like, Dopey. They're big, steady white lights in the sky. This was down here in a building.
What is it? Alfred, what is it?
Nothing, Ethel. Now, what is this, Bud?
Well, first I thought it was a lady. A young lady. I mean it. Like in one of those old magazines. I thought I saw it in a window. But then all I saw was a light.
You watched it for some time, son?
Long enough for it to pass 5 windows and go to the next floor.
And it didn't look like stray electricity?
No, Pa, I know what that looks like.
Or a star refracted through an icicle? Sometimes if you catch it at the right angle, it...
Pa, honest, I never saw anything like it before.
Huh. All right. I'll go out with you and you show me.
No, Alfred. You can't go and leave us alone, not both of you.
It's all right. We'll be right back.
Here's your helmet, Pa.
There's something out there. Always known there was something out there waiting to get us.
Hand me my glove.
Something that's part of the cold. Hates all warmth. Wants to destroy the nest. Been watching us all this time. Now it's coming after us. And it'll get you. And then it'll come for me. Oh, don't go. Alfred, please don't go.
Everything will be all right. Now, sis.
Yes, Pa?
You come watch the fire. Keep an eye on that air, too. If it gets too low or doesn't seem to be boiling fast enough, get another bucket behind the blanket.
Alfred, don't go.
I'll take care of it, Pa. Could there really be anybody out there?
I don't see how. We heard the last radio voices a year before Bud was born. There hasn't been anything since then.
Then what could it be?
I don't know. Probably just a reflection. An ice crystal cracking. Come on, Bud. Get your helmet on.
It's funny. When I go out alone, I'm not scared or anything. But when I go out with Pa, I always hang on to his belt like I used to when I was a little kid. Habit, I guess. It's the same no matter what trip we take. On the 5th floor, we stopped to rest just before we went out. We were in the room with the frozen people. The lady sitting looking at the door. The man holding his hands over that funny metal thing Pa calls a radiator. It was like a fire, I guess, but I don't see any place for the coal. We put our helmets together so we could talk.
Catch your breath, son.
Pa, would it be possible... for any of the frozen people to come to life? Like the ones down in the basement around the furnace when we go for water?
No, they're dead. They were caught too quickly when it happened.
Oh, Pa, how do we know we're the only ones?
We don't, but... Well, there's a feeling you get. Because it's always night. There used to be some of that feeling every night in the old days. But the sun chased it away every morning. You wouldn't know about that. You weren't born when the dark star pulled us away from the sun. You wouldn't know unless you'd seen the sun.
I've seen the sun. It's that big star at the end of the Big Dipper. I've seen it.
It isn't the same. Come on. We're wasting time.
I don't know what the city looked like in the old days, but now it's beautiful. The starlight lets you see it pretty well. We're up on a hill, and the plain slopes down away from us. Some taller buildings push up out of the feathery plain, topped by rounded caps of air crystals. Some of them are on a slant because a lot of the buildings were badly twisted by the quakes and everything when a dark star pulled the earth away from the sun. That's why Pa can't seal up the nest airtight. The building's twisted too bad. Besides, we have to keep the chimney open. We touched our helmets together so we could talk.
Is that where you saw it, son?
It isn't there anymore.
Uh-huh.
But it feels different. I mean, as if there's something out here, waiting.
Bud, if you see something like that again, don't tell the others.
Huh? Why not?
Well, your ma's sort of nervous these days, and we owe her all the feeling of safety we can give her. Once it was when your sister was born, I was ready to give up and die, but your mother kept me trying. Another time, she kept the fire going a whole week all by herself when I was sick.
She couldn't do that now. Not the way she is.
But you know that game we sometimes play, tossing a ball around? Well, courage is like a ball. A person can hold it only so long, and then he's got to toss it to someone else. When it's tossed your way, you've got to catch it and hold it tight, and hope there'll be someone else to toss it to when you get tired of being brave.
Yeah, I guess so.
Come on. We'll fill up the pails and get back.
But what about whatever it is out here?
We'll just have to wait and see. Come on. Before the helmets frost over.
It's pretty hard to hide your feelings in the nest. I mean, there's just room for the four of us. The blanket overhead just touches when Pa stands up straight. The floor is all covered with thick, woolly rugs. Pa says it's inside a much bigger room, but I've never seen the real walls or ceiling. Well, anyway, Pa laughed and kidded about what I'd seen. He said I had an imagination, but we could tell he took it serious. It was Sunday morning by the clocks that Pa kept all wound up on the shelf. So it was time for the story. We all sat around in a circle the way we always do. Except I noticed that Pa casually took a hammer from the shelf and put it beside him. I always liked the story. Of course, Sis and I know it by heart for now. I mean, every Sunday since we were kids. But every once in a while, Pa surprises us by telling it a little different. Or throwing in some extras. It starts out with a song. Ma used to sing it, but she forgets the words sometimes. And now Pa sings it mostly.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, thy purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain.
Of course, the words don't mean anything. I mean, the skies are spacious enough, but there aren't any waves of grain, and the plain is all covered with a blanket of frozen air. But it's part of the story ceremony, and Pa likes it. He says it reminds him of the old days. After the song, Pa starts the story.
In the days of my youth, the sun hung above, golden and warm, and the earth was fruitful and multiplied, and the fields were green, and the day was glorious, and the wind blew across the hilltops, and the air was free and good to breathe.
That's the part of the story I like best, about how it was with the sun nice and warm. It's hard to believe, all those people living without having to worry about cold and air, never waking up sweating and screaming because you dreamed the fire went out. It's impossible to believe, but Pa was a good storyteller, and he made it seem real.
And then the dark star came rushing out of space. In the beginning, they tried to keep the news from the people, but when the floods and the earthquakes started, the truth came out. At first, they thought the dark star would hit the sun, and then they were afraid it would strike the earth itself. But it didn't. It only came close.
Pa tells it like the sun and the dark star fought for the earth like two dogs over a bone. I know what he means because I've seen a picture of a dog in a magazine. And then the dark star won and carried us off. but the sun kept the moon. There were earthquakes and floods. Pa says that mountains fell and oceans slopped over. Oceans, that's a lot of melted water lying around loose. It's hard to imagine. Pa says it was so. Then came the open question time in the story. Sis asked a question about what girls wore for clothes. And I asked Pa how people acted in those days when the earth was twisted and jerked almost apart.
Well, Bud, I was too busy to notice much. A friend of mine, Dr. Weisbrod, and Kelly, the geophysicist, and Walters, the astronomer, we knew what was going to happen. And we were working to fix up a place with airtight walls and insulation and big supplies of food and bottled air. But the place got smashed up in the earthquakes, and they were all killed. So I put the nest together at the last minute in the living room of our apartment. It's a 4-room apartment.
You must have seen some of the people, like the frozen ones downstairs.
At that time, Bud, I only thought of one thing. Your mother and survival. If I had stopped to think, I wouldn't have even tried to make the nest. It would have seemed ridiculous. Blankets and a coal fire against the cold and vacuum of space. But I didn't think. I survived.
I wasn't listening carefully as Pa went on about the building of the nest. I kept thinking about something else. About that light I'd seen outside. I kept asking myself, what if the frozen people were coming to life? What if they were like the liquid helium that crawls toward heat when it should be frozen solid? What if something were coming from the dark star to get us? Something making the frozen people move, not by themselves. That would fit with what I'd seen. A young lady's face and the moving light. I sat there and shivered, thinking of the frozen people with minds from the dark star creeping, crawling, snuffing their way, following the heat to the nest. And then, over from beyond the blankets, I thought I heard a tiny noise.
So I asked myself then, what's the use of going on? Why prolong a doomed existence of hard work and cold and loneliness? The human race is done. The earth is done. Why not give up, I asked myself.
And then I did hear the noise. Louder this time. A kind of shuffling tread coming closer.
And then I got the answer. The Earth's always been a lonely place millions of miles from the next planet. And no matter how long the human race might have lived, the end would have come some night. Those things don't matter. What matters is that life is good. There's a lovely texture, like some rich cloth or fur, or the petals of flowers, crocuses, daffodils, or the fire's glow. And that's as true for the last man as the first.
Still, those steps kept shuffling closer. Pa was talking, and Ma was dreaming with her eyes closed, and Sis was looking at herself sideways in the mirror. And I was the only one who heard the noise. The noise outside.
So right then and there I told myself that I was going on as if we had all eternity ahead of us. I'd have children, and I'd teach them all I could. I'd get them to read books, try to enlarge and seal the nest. I'd try to keep everything beautiful and alive. I'd keep alive my feeling of wonder, even at the cold and the dark and the distant stars.
Pa, I know.
What is it, Alfred? What is it? What's going on? Oh, you've got to tell me.
Pa, I'm scared.
Quiet. But you heard it?
Uh-huh. Kind of shuffling, coming toward the nest.
Oh.
Sis, take care of your mother.
It's all right, Ma. Lie down. Come on.
I'll take the hammer. You take the hatchet.
What is it, Pa? What is it?
I don't know. Listen.
It's closer.
Mush.
Pa, the blanket is moving. Ready with your axe.
Hello? Who's there? Is there somebody in there?
Come in. It's all right.
They're alive. Alive.
Who are you?
Alfred Hutchinson. Dr. Alfred Hutchinson. You can take off your helmets in here.
But the air.
We have air.
We bring it in pails.
Come on, Ralph. Let's take off the helmets.
It's impossible.
Well, where are you from? We thought we were the only ones.
Los Alamos.
The nuclear laboratory.
Yes, that's right. We get our power from the reactor, using the stockpile of bombs for fuel.
Then there are others. There are other men. There are other men.
Pa, is it all right? Should I put the axe down?
Yes, it's all right. You can put it down.
You mean you come from another nest?
It's a little bigger than this. We've got a small airtight city with airlocks.
We generate our electricity, food from hydroponics.
I can't believe it. I can't.
I can't believe this. It's impossible. You can't maintain an air supply without hermetic sealing. It's impossible.
Oh, no, it's simple. As long as you keep the fire going to melt the air, and enough air boiling to keep the fire burning.
How did you come here? Why?
Well, we keep scouting around for survivors. There are a number of colonies, Brookhaven, Oak Ridge, and Harwell in England, and the Argonne Laboratory in France. We didn't expect to find anything in this city, though. But our detectors picked up a heat trace, so we tracked it down.
Alfred, you're forgetting your manners. We have company.
Of course. Sis, throw a handful of coal on the fire.
Pa, a whole handful?
Doesn't matter now. And Bud, bring out another pail of air.
Oh, it's incredible.
And you have laboratories and transport?
We only have a two-seater Scout, but if we rip out the bulkhead to the storage compartment, we can make it all right.
We can have you back at Los Alamos in 4 hours.
What's the matter?
I guess we really hadn't thought about it that way.
But, I wouldn't know how to act there. And besides, I haven't any clothes.
Just doesn't seem right to let this fire go out. It's been 18 years. Burning every minute.
But you can't stay here.
Ralph.
But after all...
Ralph.
Oh. Look, Dr. Hutchinson, we'll go out to the ship and bring back a small power heater. I know this is very sudden and upsetting to you. You need a chance to adjust. We'll be back in a few minutes. It's incredible. In buckets, air in buckets.
Well,
They didn't think the nest smelled so good. I could tell.
She had a wave in her hair. Did you see that? And lipstick.
I suppose we have to decide what to do.
Pa, at Los Alamos and those other places, there'll be lots of people, won't there?
Yes,
I mean, not just your father or a brother.
that's right.
Boys?
I suppose so. But somehow I feel a little empty.
Alfred, it's different now that we know others are alive. You don't have to feel the responsibility for keeping the human race going.
Pa, I'd like to see those rockets and laboratories. Wouldn't you, Pa?
I suppose so.
It won't be easy leaving the nest. I mean, it's just right, and there's only 4 of us. It's kind of a scary idea. Big place with a lot of strangers.
You'll get over that feeling, son. The trouble with the world was that it kept getting smaller and smaller till it ended with just the nest. Now it'll be good to have a real, huge world again. The way it was in the beginning.
And so, we're going to leave the nest in the morning. By Pa's clocks. We've got the power heater going now. Seems funny to be this warm when it isn't Christmas or somebody's birthday. But still, it's hard for me to realize that This is the last time I'll go out of the nest, through all the blankets, to get a pail of air.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was an NBC Radio Network production.
The magic island of the South Seas lies hidden behind its mysterious bank of magnetic fog. The Gregory yacht and the Johnson rescue boat are lashed together, both held captive at Pier 5 on this weird island of Euclidia. On board the yacht, Mrs. Gregory and Captain Bradford are planning everything as exactly as possible. For at 8 o'clock, just after dark, they're going to try to escape from the island in Johnson's boat. Jerry and Joan are starting along the pier to the island, beginning what may prove to be a very dangerous adventure, as they will try to gain control of the radio and power chambers on the island. It is now just 6:30. 1 hour and a half before the plans must be completed.
Now you must remember, Jerry, that we are to speak of nothing out of the ordinary until we are in the sound channel.
Hey, Joan, why can't we use that sound channel elevator to go down in? You know, the one we came up in last time?
We will do so, Jerry, if we are able to get it to open for us. Remember that we must ask the control chamber for permission to enter.
Well, when those guards hear that we've got the antidote to bring those scientists out of their sleep, they'll be glad enough to let us go down in there.
But, Jerry, we haven't...
Yes, we have. You forgot it, so I brought it all right.
But, Jerry, Captain
Bradford... I know.
That...
Captain Bradford said for you to carry it, but you walked right out without it, so I stuck it in my pocket.
But, Jerry... Oh, Jerry, you stepped right on my foot.
Well, if you don't quit arguing with me, I might have to step on your neck. Now, listen. I've got the stuff Captain Bradford said would bring those Euclidean scientists back to their senses again. And don't give me any more argument.
Oh, Jerry, I begin to understand.
Oh, don't hurry. Next week will be a swell time to start understanding me.
But I did not mean to be stupid, Jerry. You need not be so angry with me. I was not trying to misunderstand you.
Maybe not, but you did just as good a job of it as if you tried to.
I am sorry, Jerry. And of course we must hurry to the laboratory. G47 will be very angry if we do not wake him and the other scientists as soon as possible.
Now you're coming alive again. Okay, here's the elevator. Recite that hocus-pocus that opens it up.
Cleostra at the main elevator shaft. Cleostra at the main elevator shaft.
Maybe they won't let us go down there till we explain to them that we've got the stuff they want.
That should not be necessary. The guard must have heard us discussing it. Yes, Jerry. The elevator is opening again. The top of the shaft covering is arising from the island.
I guess you're right at that. Is this the same elevator we got stuck in when the submarine lock broke and flooded the 5th level?
Yes, Jerry. This is the same elevator.
We can sure pick the nicest places to play.
I think that will not happen again.
I think it better not.
Now the door will open, Jerry.
Now, don't recite all that to me again, Joan. The last time we were in this thing, you said the door will open again. And it didn't. Let me figure this one out for myself.
Why are you so angry with me, Jerry?
Oh, I'm not angry. I'm in a hurry. Here we go. Oh, the floor sounds the same anyway. Now I'll push this thing for the 5th level.
That is right, Jerry.
Now, and down we go. They can hear us talking in the control chamber, can't they?
Yes, Jerry. All we say can be heard.
Well, I'm glad of that. There goes the 1st level.
Yes. But why do you say you are glad we may be heard in the control chamber?
Because if anything happens to the elevator this time, I'm going to yell until somebody comes and gets us out.
We have passed the 2nd level.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll find all those Euclidean scientists still asleep when we get to the laboratory.
Captain Bradford said he was afraid they would be asleep for hours.
Oh, there's the 3rd level. Yeah. Tex did act kind of worried about how long the gas would keep them asleep.
G47 will be very angry with Captain Bradford when he wakes up and thinks what the captain's formula did to him.
Well, it's his own fault. That's the 4th level. And if G47 hadn't been in such a hurry to get his hands on his formula, well, Tex would have told him to look out for that gas explosion if it didn't work just right.
He will blame the captain in some way, Jerry. I dread to think what will happen when he wakes up.
Well, I guess this is as far as we go.
Yes, the door will open automatically now.
That's what you said the last time.
But look, Jerry, it is really opening now.
Oh, that's good. I could get nervous awful easy in one of these things. Well, let's get going.
Yes, Jerry.
Now, where's that laboratory?
Right this way, Jerry.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of turned around.
Now, right in here, Jerry. Hurry inside.
Boy, you sure thought fast when you steered me in here, Joan. I pretty near forgot and went to the laboratory.
And you thought very swiftly, Jerry, up there on the surface of the island, when you spoke as if we were taking something from Captain Bradford to wake up those men in the chemical chamber.
Well, now that we're both thinking, let's get busy on why we're playing hide and seek down here. Where do you start to clear the way of the radio room?
There is a detailed chart of the island on the work table over there. I will point out the strategic points.
Okay, but let's get in some corner of the room where our voices don't sound like we're hollering down a well.
Come with me. We will find a zone of soundproofing near the chart table.
Well, our feet don't make any more noise. Hey, our voices are all right now.
Yes, Jerry. That was the end of the sound testing zone.
Swell. Now, where's this plan of the island?
Right here. Is it not beautiful?
Hey, I don't see any maps or drawings. What are you talking about?
This, Jerry. This shining cylinder is an exact replica of the island.
That thing?
Yes, of course.
Golly whiskers, Joan. Well, that looks like a big tin can, about the size of a 10-gallon can, with a cogwheel on the top of it.
Exactly, Jerry. And that is what this island looks like. That is a perfect scale model of the island.
Gee. And that cogwheel on the top is the piers?
Yes. Those arms extending from the upper rim are the piers, and those little metal projections, shaped like a falling drop of water, those are the control chambers on the surface of the island.
Boy. And all these little outline places in the sides. They show the levels, don't they? Now, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 5th level, isn't it?
Yes, and you may see the outlines of the submarine locks there. All of the submarines are at this level. They are kept here so they will still be free of the ocean floor when the island is submerged. Then the submarines may enter or leave their locks, and the surface of the island will be under 40 feet of water.
Boy, I'd like to be able to take that thing back home with me. Wouldn't I have something to show the boys and girls?
It weighs nearly 1,000 pounds, Jerry. I think you would have some trouble carrying it.
Yeah, I'd have to use both hands for that. Well, we've had enough fun. Now, where's a picture of the insides of this funny island? We've got to make our plans and move fast. Somebody's coming to investigate us if we don't hurry it up.
You may see the inside of the island with this model, Jerry.
Huh? You mean look through that steel?
No, this is not the transparent steel. This is opaque. But it opens up at the touch of a finger. So.
Well, giggling goldfish.
Jerry, you know very well that a
goldfish
does not giggle.
Oh, I know that. But I'll bet he would if he could see this. Look, Joan, the whole thing is opened up. Each level just slides out to the side as if there were little shells.
Is it not wonderful, Jerry?
Sure is, Joan. It's about the most wonderful thing like that I ever saw. Gee, look. Look, there's a little submarine in the locks.
And there is the chemical laboratory where the chemists are all asleep.
Oh, yeah. And we're near asleep here. Now, get your nose down close to this, Joan, and show me where every important control room on the island is.
The main radio control room, as you know, is there on the surface of the island.
Yeah, can't we do anything to that from here?
Not directly, but I will show you how we may handicap the operation of the beams later.
Never mind later. Do it now.
Very well. Now, down here, in the 10th level, the last one in the island proper, are located all the tremendous turbines and motors and generators that furnish the power and light for all devices on the island.
Then that's the place we've got to hit for, right away.
No, Jerry, we must not do that. That would spoil all our plans.
Well, I don't see how. If we can get to that machinery, we can shut off their power, can't we?
We could not get into the power chambers. Even the men who work there are locked in. Then they are relieved at intervals by an armed guard who lock a new group of men in there. And anyone other than the workmen assigned to that section who even appeared on that level would be punished severely and given no chance to explain.
Gosh, that doesn't sound so good.
But we do not want to go into that section, Jerry.
No? Why don't we?
Because if we could shut off the power down there, we would never get out of the island. Every door and elevator would lock automatically. and remained sealed until the repairs were completed. Have you forgotten our experience in the elevator? Were we not locked in there?
Yeah. This begins to look not so easy, Joan.
Oh, do not lose heart, Jerry. Even if we could do all that safely, we would not want to. As we must have the power in the radio chamber when we are ready to send the message to Johnson. And we would be defeating our own purpose if we cut off the power.
Well, then what can we do that's any good?
Look into that little chamber, Jerry. The solid round one directly beneath the radio chamber. Just a few feet under the surface of the island.
Yeah, I see it. What's that?
That is the main electrical dispatch room. All the power and lighting circuits on the island pass through a series of master keys and switches there. And we can nearly control the whole island if we can take over that room.
But can we take it over?
It will require courage, Jerry, and what you call a lot of luck. But I think we may hope to do it.
Well, you know your way around here and up there better than I do. What's the plan?
We must go into the radio control chamber, directly above that one, and overcome the guards. Then repeat the procedure in the room below.
How many guards?
There will be only 2 in the upper chamber, I think, and 1 in the lower.
Well, that doesn't sound too bad. They've got ray guns, I guess.
Yes, powerful ones. Not like these little ones we have, and... Oh, Jerry, I have just thought of something.
Huh? Good or bad?
Wonderful. It is in this room that the protective paint is kept. There, Jerry, in that round vat.
What do you mean, protective paint?
The paint which will protect us against the rays for our hands and face.
You mean with that paint on our hands and faces, they can't hurt us with their ray guns?
Yes, Jerry. We have on Euclidean cloth garments, and with that paint on our hands and faces, the rays will be harmless to us.
Well, then let's get into the paint, quick.
Someone is in the room.
Can they see us?
Not yet. We are hidden here.
Then work fast. Shoot your ray gun off. I'll fall like you shot me. You tell them you caught me here.
But Jerry,
Do as I say. I've got an idea. Shoot that gun so I can fall. Quick.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Kellogg's Pep. P-E-P, Pep. Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal, presents
The Adventures of Superman. Today we bring our story of Rufus Pelly and his attempt to sabotage the World Peace Federation to a smashing climax as a new and even more startling adventure awaits the Man of Steel.
Hello there, gang. This is your pal Dan McCullough. Say, have you noticed the way folks step lively to the breakfast table when Kellogg's Pep heads the menu? Right off, they hitch up their chairs and settle down to the business of good eating. Seems like you can hardly resist this catchy golden toasted cereal. And who wants to resist Pep's tender crispness, or that light, keen sunshine flavor Pep is famous for? Every crunchy flake is full of cool come-on. Every spoonful is a rare treat in itself. Every dish of Pep with cool milk and sugar just about doubles the fun of breakfast. And don't forget, every package of Pep gives you a surprise prize. It'll be either a bright-colored comic button picturing one of 18 famous comic strip characters to pin on your jacket or your beanie cap, or it'll be a colored cardboard model of an Allied fighting plane, easy as a breeze to assemble. Just swap duplicates with the gang and collect all 7 model planes in the series. Or your next prize may be a full-color bird picture. There are 24 of these, each with a full description on the reverse side, so that you'll really know a thing or two about birds. So, gang, what are you waiting for? Start collecting all 3 kinds of these slick Pep prizes. Today, ask Mom to get you Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal.
Now the Adventures of Superman. Scheming to obtain control of the Metropolis Daily Planet in order to use its pages to poison public opinion against the World Peace Federation, Rufus Pelly, a munitions magnate who profits from war, had editor Perry White and publisher John Grayson abducted. When they refused to turn over the great newspaper to him, Pelly had them tied hand and foot and placed in a rowboat to which a charge of explosives was attached. Then they were towed out to sea by a man who was ordered to destroy them. Meanwhile, on the trail of his friends, Superman, carrying Inspector Henderson, followed an underwater telephone line from a gasoline station on the mainland. As we continue now, the Man of Steel suddenly checks his flight above a moonlit island on which a magnificent estate is situated. Listen.
That's where the private phone line goes to, Inspector. That island down there.
Why, what a layout. Acres of gardens, stables, private airport. Say, wait a minute. You know whose estate that is?
Oh, who?
Why, that's Rufus Pelly's place. He's the multimillionaire.
He makes his money from war munitions, doesn't he?
Oh, yes, that's true.
And if the World Peace Federation brings all the nations together in friendship and understanding and so prevents future wars, Pelly will be out of business, right?
Maybe so. But you're all wrong about him where this case is concerned, I tell you.
And why does he have a private phone to Paul Brower's gas station across the bay, keeping in mind that Brower's car was used in Grayson's abduction?
I don't know. If you think Pelly abducted White and Grayson, let's see you find him there.
Not on the island now, but...
Certainly not. You never were here.
We'll find out. I see Pelly's up in that glass wall turret on top of his house, so hang on, Inspector. We're going to call on him. Ahoy!
Carrying Inspector Henderson, Superman streaks to the tip of the island, where Rufus Pelly's great stone house sprawls on the rocks above the sea. Meanwhile, 3 miles out, a sleek, powerful speedboat has throttled down. And at the moment that Hugo, Pelly's giant henchman, is about to cast off the rope attached to the rowboat in which Perry White and John Grayson sit, bound hand and foot, Henderson and Superman, again garbed in the inspector's long raincoat, and calling himself Mr. Jones, enter Rufus Pelly's glass-walled study, where the multimillionaire munitions magnate answers Superman's questions coolly.
Why, yes, Mr. Jones. I have a private telephone connection with Paul Brower's gas station on the mainland. It's very convenient when guests arrive for the island. He phones us, and we send our launch for them.
Well, that sounds reasonable, Jones?
Yes, if it's the truth.
Why, what do you mean, sir?
We didn't tell Brower we wanted to see you, but the moment we left, he grabbed the phone to warn you that we'd found the car in which John Grayson was abducted, and that we'd caught him in a damaging lie.
I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about.
I think you do. Look, Mr. Pelly, Homer Smith works for you, doesn't he?
Homer Smith? Who's he?
The stooge for the murderous warmongers who are out to wreck the World Peace Federation. Smith blackmailed John Grayson and got himself appointed to run the Daily Planet, as you must know.
Sorry. I have never heard of him.
I think you have. I think he's your stooge.
Now, just a moment, young
Hold it,
man.
Jones.
It would mean quite a lot to you. Millions, even billions of dollars if the World Peace Federation was kicked out of the window. Wouldn't it, Mr. Pelly?
You're very impertinent. As a matter of fact, I have no quarrel at all with the Peace Federation. But you listen to me, young man. Excuse me. Come in. What is it, Marsh?
Excuse me, sir. This telephone message just came for you, sir. The party said it was very important.
I'll call him and say I'll phone in a short while, Marsh.
Yes, sir.
I'll take that paper, Marsh.
Now, wait. Don't let him have it, Marsh.
Look here, you can't do that.
Inspector, I appeal to you as...
So, you never heard of Homer Smith, eh, Pelly?
Wait a minute
Look,
now.
Inspector, this message is from Homer Smith, giving him a number for Pelly to call at once.
Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. So you are mixed up in this mess, huh?
Look out, Inspector. He's got a gun.
Yes, and I know how to use it. Stand very still, gentlemen. Very still.
You'd better put that gun down, Pelly.
Not until it is spoken. Twice, Inspector. Your friend, Mr. Jones, was too clever for your good.
So, you admit you're behind the plot to sabotage the Peace Federation?
Of course. If the Peace Federation succeeds, there will be no more wars. And where would I be with my great arms and munition plants? My mines, my ships.
You filthy rat. You'd willingly drag the world into another war in order to...
Wait, Inspector, wait a minute. What did you do with Perry White and John Grayson, Pelly?
Since you're about to die, I'll tell you that, too. At any moment, you'll see an explosion directly out to sea. That will mark the end of Mr. White and Mr. Grayson.
What? What do you mean?
They're in a rowboat equipped with one of my new weapons. A wonderful weapon controlled by a radio beam from a central control station. In this case, a motorboat. I warned you not to move.
Look out! I shed lead, brother, but you don't shed this.
Nice going, Superman. Here, you, Marsh, or whatever your name is. Stand where you are.
Yes, sir.
Keep an eye on Pelly, Inspector. I've got to go places. Through that glass wall. Out and away! Diving through the heavy glass wall, Superman rockets out to sea, where at this moment in the speedboat, Hugo is about to press a button which will explode the rowboat and its 2 occupants into nothing. There they are. An aluminum cylinder on the bow of the rowboat. I've got to grab it before it explodes. Down! Streaking above the moonlit waters with the speed of light, Superman snatches the aluminum cylinder from the bow of the boat in which Perry White and John Grayson sit, helpless and horrified. Without pausing, the Man of Steel leaps upward, high into the dark heavens, just as the cylinder explodes in his hands with a gigantic roar. Wow. That was a close shave. Now to pick up Mr. White and Grayson and collect that big roughneck in the speedboat and join Henderson and Pelly. Away! Well, Pelly, do you still think you can blackjack the American public into throwing out the World Peace Federation?
I'm not talking until I see my lawyer.
All the lawyers in Metropolis won't be able to save you from this chair, Mr. Rat. Well, I owe you an apology, Superman. You were right all the time, and I was wrong.
Forget it, Inspector.
And John Grayson and I owe you our lives, Superman.
I don't know how to thank you. Pleasure was all mine, gentlemen. With Mr. Pelly out of the way, the Peace Federation will have a better chance of succeeding. And for my money, the Federation is the only means of preventing an atomic war that would mean the end of all of us.
You bet. No question of it.
Say, wait a minute. I almost forgot, Inspector. We've got to pick up Homer Smith.
I've already called headquarters and told them to trace Smith through the phone number he left for Pelly.
Oh, good. And I guess the party's over. Mr. White, I imagine you're in a hurry to write up your scoop.
Am I? And how? Oh, boy, what a scoop this is. Wait till those puffed-up reporters of mine see this.
And they'll be impressed, all right. Especially Kent. Well, I'm going back to Metropolis if you want to live.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, up with you then. Goodbye, all.
Goodbye, Superman.
Thanks again.
Out! Up! And away! Well, Chief, working pretty late, aren't you?
Oh, go away, Ken. Go away. I'm busy.
Working on the Rufus Pelly story?
You bet I am. Well, now, what do you think of the old man, Kent? I guess this proves I can still show you young pups a thing or two about reporting, eh?
Oh, sure. Sit still, I'll get it.
Oh, thanks.
Hello?
Hello, is Clark Kent there, please?
Speaking, and unless I miss my guess, I'm talking to America's own Sherlock Holmes himself, my old pal Candy Myers.
Look, cut the comedy, Kent. I'm in a rush. I just wanted to ask you if you wanted to get in on a terrific new scoop.
Do I? What's cooking, Candy?
Plenty, but plenty. Wait till you hear.
I can hardly wait. Give.
Oh, no, not over the phone. And anyhow, the pot won't boil for exactly 30 minutes. Then the lid'll blow off and break this town wide open.
Hey, this sounds very interesting.
That's putting it mildly.
What is it, Kent? It's for me, Chief. In 30 minutes, you say, Candy?
Check. Can you be at my place then?
Hey, I'll be there with bells on.
Good. And be prepared for the surprise and the story of your life, brother.
We'll be back in a moment for the dramatic climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Say, if you could line up all those tender flakes of Kellogg's Pep that are eaten these summer mornings, how far do you think that line would stretch? Way out beyond the horizon and then some. And if you could heap together all the good-eating fun you fellows and girls have with Pep, why, you'd practically have a mountain. Because Kellogg's Pep with cool milk and sugar is really hep when it comes to tickling your taste. Sure, those delicate whole wheat flakes are so crisp and fresh, so cool tasting and light that, well, you just couldn't ask for a finer treat. What's more, you couldn't ask for anything finer than those swell Pep prizes. For instance, right inside your next Pep package, you may find one of a great new series of 24 bird pictures with a description on the reverse side to help you identify each of these birds wherever you see it. Or you may find an exciting colored cardboard model of a fighting plane, easy as anything to assemble. There are 7 model planes you can collect. Or your next Pep prize may be a bright colored comic button with a famous character straight out of the funnies. One of 18 keen buttons to wear on your beanie cap or your jacket. So hop to it, gang. Get busy collecting all 3 kinds of these wonderful prizes. Ask Mom to get you a package of Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal.
15 minutes after phoning Clark Kent to come to his home,
Candy Myers, the popular private detective, drives his car into the garage behind his little bungalow on the waterfront where he lives alone. As he steps from the garage into the moonlit darkness of his tiny backyard...
Okay, guys, let him have it.
Yeah, why the... Oh!
Taken by surprise as several burly figures leap at him out of the darkness, Candy Myers is knocked to his knees. He recovers, starts to fight back. Then, overpowered, he is beaten as his assailants wield blackjacks and gun butts. A moment later, Candy lies battered and still in the quiet moonlight. What is the meaning of this brutal attack on the friendly, much-loved private detective? And is he dead? We're beginning an exciting new Superman adventure, gang, and you won't want to miss a single tense minute of it. So be sure to be with us tomorrow. Same time, same station.
And remember, for breakfast, it's Kellogg's Pep.
For excitement, the adventures of Superman.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC comic magazines and is brought to you Monday through Friday at the same time by Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal. You know, gang, famous names make history. And Kellogg, the greatest name in cereals, has made history with good breakfast eating for a long time. For example, Kellogg's shredded wheat. So crisp, so toasty, so delicious. Tender, plump biscuits, 15 of them to a package. That's 15 biscuits crammed with their own natural nutty flavor and made just the right size to fit the bowl. And remember, this is whole wheat, so it's good for you, too. Ask Mom for Kellogg's shredded wheat. And be sure to be with us tomorrow for the thrilling adventures of Superman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
You are lost in a London fog, uncertain whether the figures looming around you are real or creatures of your imagination. And somewhere in the wet grayness lurks a murderer from whom you must escape.
Escape, produced and directed by William N. Robeson, and carefully contrived to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure. Tonight, we escape to a fog-shrouded city and the terror of a shell-shocked mine, as Algernon Blackwood describes them in his ghostly story, Confession.
There was no doubt about it. The woman was dead. Her cheek was cold to my touch. The head of the long, sharp hat pin protruded from her breast above the heart. She was dead, murdered. And I stood there by the bed, my brain whirling crazily. I was alone in an empty house with a murdered woman. And then suddenly fear flashed across my brain and cleared it. I heard the door below open and close. Footsteps. Someone was coming across the downstairs hall, onto the stairs. Coming up here. In a moment I would be discovered. In a moment someone would walk into this room and see me standing over the body. In a moment my escape would be cut off. Quickly I slipped across the hall and into another of the empty bedrooms. I leaned against the closed door, breathing heavily, listening to those steps come closer. Would he look into any of the other bedrooms first? Would I be discovered here? He passed my door and went into the room, straight in, closed the door behind him. Then he knew where to come. I waited a moment, waited for some sound, some gasp of discovery. There was none. Then he knew what to expect. I must escape quickly before he came out of that room. I started down the stairs, carefully, to avoid any sound. And suddenly the door of that room opened. The beam of a flashlight searched down the hall.
I took the stairs 3 at a time, burst open the front door, and fled into the street, fled into the sanctuary of the fog. How long and how far I ran, I do not know. I could see nothing, feel nothing but the clammy dampness of the fog. I don't know whether he was still following me or not. I ran out of sheer terror, up one street, down another, with no idea of where I was or where I was going. Perhaps I was running in circles. Perhaps I would run right back to the house. Well, I stopped. I leaned heavily against the wall. My hands were shaking as I raised them to my perspiring face. I held them there to steady them, ran them through my wet hair. My hat. I didn't have it. I'd left my hat back there in that room, on the bed beside that dead woman. And it had my initials in it. Nearby, a street lamp formed a fuzzy ball of yellow in the enveloping murk. And now a figure loomed suddenly beneath it, just as she had materialized so short a time ago under another streetlight. Or was it the same one? Was it she again? Was it he, the one who was following me? Was it real at all? Perhaps it was only a creature of my madness.
My dear sir, you're ill.
Oh,
here, old fellow, let me help you. Why, you're almost ready to fall.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Here, just lean on my arm.
Yes. You are real, aren't you?
Real? I don't understand. I say, you're very near collapse, you know. And I happen to be a doctor. Luckily, too, you're just outside my very house. Come in for a moment, won't you?
Why, you're very kind. Yes, I will, if it's not too much trouble for you.
None at all, my dear chap. Please do.
Within 5 minutes, I was seated in a comfortable chair before a toasting fire, sipping a hot cup of tea. I could feel my nerves relaxing, but the traces of my illness must have been clear on my face, because my host observed.
Your trouble is shell shock, isn't it?
Why, yes, how did you know?
I've been in the service, and I'm a doctor.
Oh, of course, I only meant I'm supposed to be recovered, or almost. But I got lost in the fog, felt ill suddenly. Terrified, you know.
I know. You should never have been out on a night like this. If you've got far to go, you'd better let me put you up.
You're very kind indeed, but I don't want to be any trouble.
Oh, no trouble at all. I'd like to be of help. It's the least we veterans can do for each other. Oh, the blasted war. Thank goodness it's over. You're not English, are you?
No, Canadian. I haven't been demobilized yet. I'm still in the Army Hospital at Regent's Park under the care of Dr. Henry.
Ah, yes. Very good man. I'd say he's done well by you. Up till tonight, I mean.
Yes. Of course, we had no idea there would be a fog. I still get in a panic when I feel all alone.
Well, that's usual, but then there was something more than that tonight, wasn't there?
What do you mean?
Simply that you've had rather a severe shock quite recently, haven't you?
How did you know that?
My dear chap, I'm a doctor. My business to know. You were in much too agitated a state when I found you for me to suppose it could have been done simply by the fog. And if I may hazard another guess, I should say it would be a relief to you and wise as well if you could unburden yourself to someone who would understand. Am I not right?
Someone who would understand. That's just it. I doubt if there is anyone like that. It's so incredible.
Oh, the more incredible, the greater your need to tell it. Repression in cases like yours can be dangerous, as you must know. You think you've hidden it, but it bides its time and it comes up later causing a lot of trouble. Confession, you know. Confession is good for the soul.
Yes, I suppose you are right. But it is so wildly unbelievable.
Since we're strangers, my belief or disbelief can make no difference. And I think I can promise you in advance that I shall believe all you have to say.
Well, but I've got to tell somebody about it soon anyway.
Cigarette to help with telling?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'd better start back at the very beginning of the adventure, then. It started today at the sanitarium. I've been there for some months, and today, when Dr. Henry called to check on me, I knew...
Well, young man, you're as fit as a prize heifer and twice as frisky. The diet here must agree with you.
I have no complaints, Doctor, but if I'm well again, then I'd like to get back into circulation.
Will you listen to him, nurse, rushing things as usual? You'd think he didn't like us here.
The way he bothers us to let him go into town, I'm sure of it, Doctor. He's getting so healthy, he's bursting at the seams.
There, you see? How about it, Doctor? Can't I just have a day or an evening in town?
What's the great attraction in that dirty place? Some girl, no doubt?
Well, yes, that is in a way. I met her in France. She's a Red Cross girl. She's invited me to stop in for tea if I'm up in London, and, well, it's just that I'd feel human again, seeing a girl having tea, a cigarette, chatting. That's all.
Young man, I not only approve of your day in town, I'm prescribing it. It'll do you good. You've got to start getting used to society again anyway.
And you think I can manage it alone?
Why not? You get around the neighborhood by yourself well enough, don't you? There's nothing so very different about London. Certainly nothing to be afraid of.
No, of course not.
Call the young lady and find out the directions, where to get off the underground, what turns to take, and so on. Go in the daytime, return before dark. No danger of getting lost. Should be simple. Nothing to it. Do you good.
Then this means I'm getting better. I'll be able to go home soon?
There you go. Rushing things again. But yes, I think perhaps we're on the last leg. Oh, that'll be all, nurse.
Yes, Dr. Henry.
Now, tell me, young man, what about your friends?
No, Doctor. I think they've deserted me. I don't see them anymore. No more ghosts. No more dead comrades stopping in for a chat.
Good. For how long now?
Oh, several weeks at least. I can hardly remember when I last saw one.
Thought you saw.
Yes, thought. Of course, in the dark room at night, sometimes the shadows...
That's not quite the same thing. Lots of well people fancy they see the shadows move at night, especially after they've been reading some penny dreadful.
Yes, I suppose so.
At any rate, you can distinguish between the real people and the unreal now, and that's a big step, considering how you were a few months ago.
Well, it's only when I feel completely alone, cut off, that the old panic begins a little, but not as much as before.
Many people don't like to feel alone and cut off, but they can fight down that panicky feeling, nip it in the bud. And so will you in time. But I must warn you, a severe shock could undo all our work. By all means, avoid shock.
Avoid shock, he said. Very funny, isn't it? But who could have known then what would happen? How could I have suspected as I went about planning my day in town, my holiday? I called the girl, arranged our tea party. I was to be at her little house in Morley Place at 4.
So it's defined the first time. With your Canadian backwoods instinct, she'll probably manage it better than any Londoner.
Yes, I'm sure I will. It's near South Kensington Station, then.
Exactly. You change at Piccadilly Circus.
Yes.
Without leaving the underground station. And come to South Kent. That's 3 streets left from there. Then 2 right, 1 more left, and right again into Morley Place. It's really not far.
Oh, I'll find it, all right. Now, don't go to any great bother.
Oh, you just leave that to me. This is a special occasion, you know. Till 4, then.
Until 4. Yes. Thanks. And so it all started out as a cheerful adventure. And everything went well into the city. I made my change underground at Piccadilly, took the local to South Kensington Station. And there I came up at surface again. And when I walked out, I stepped into a solid, opaque blanket of white fog. I could hear the traffic, the rumble of the city around me. I could hear footsteps, an occasional muffled voice. But I could see almost nothing. This is how a blind man feels then. The only objects of relief from that dreadful enveloping gray wall were an occasional blur of yellow from a street lamp, or a motor car headlight, a glimmering patch from some big lighted shop window here and there, and the figures of other people passing by, dark and floating and indistinct. Or were they people? Might they not be those phantom figures again, just like the ones that haunted me before I went into the sanitarium? Ghostly, blurred figures of dead comrades from Dunkirk and Abbeville and and the mud of Belgium. Ah, here comes another one. I can hear his cane tapping. Look closely now, make sure. There. He looked real enough, didn't he? They are real, I'm positive of it, and I'm not alone. They're all around me. But even as I told myself this, the old panic was growing inside. Here now, old fellow, you've got to get hold of yourself. Next one comes along, speak up. Speak up to him. Ask him the way to Morley Place. Ask, can you put me on the trail to Morley Place? Just like that. You'll see. Here now. Here he comes. Ask the way. Beg pardon. Can you put me on...
I say, is this right for the tube station, do you know? I'm utterly lost. I want South Kensington.
Why, yes, I have just come from there. Straight along, I think.
Oh, thanks awfully.
Oh, but I say, can you put me on the trail to Morley Place? He's gone. Well, no matter, he was real enough. He spoke up like a real person, all right. Maybe the next... Oh, I say, I beg your pardon.
Oh, I'm frightfully sorry. I didn't see you and you standing still.
I'm afraid I must be lost. Can you direct me to Morley Place?
Oh, dear, I think you've missed your turning. You'll have to double back a street and maybe two and take the first turn to the right and go one street and then double back two and then left again and you'll come to...
I say thanks. That was first right and then... She's gone. Disappeared. Like a ghost. The panic was rising in me. They were real people, yes, but they appeared and disappeared so disconcertingly quickly. And when I turned off down the main street, there were fewer of them. I turned again and again. But I couldn't remember the directions. Suddenly, I knew I was lost. And now I was in some little backwater where passers-by were rare, where no one came, where I was alone. Now the panic swept over me. I stumbled on a curb. My cane swept empty air. I fell to the icy pavement. I was shaking so that I couldn't rise to my feet. I crawled across the open space of the street on my hands and knees. Only when I crossed the curb and felt a warm wall could I stand up again. And then I stood there, shaken and frantic. Morley Place must be very close, the little Red Cross girl waiting with her warm fire and hot tea. But where? Where? Suddenly, in the yellow blur of the nearest street lamp, a faint darkening of the fog caught my eye. It was not a figure this time. Only the shadow of the pole, grotesquely magnified. No, it moved. It came toward me. It was a figure, a woman. It came right up to me. Fear gripped me, and then I remembered the doctor's advice.
Don't ignore them. Treat them as real. Speak to them and go with them. You will soon prove their unreality then, and they will leave you.
And so I gripped the wall behind me and spoke to her. Lost your way like myself, haven't you, ma'am? Do you know where we are, Toll? Morley Place I'm looking for.
Where am I?
Well, I say you're more frightened than I am. May I help you?
I'm lost. I've lost myself. I can't find my way back.
Same here. I'm terrified of being alone, too. I've had shell shock, you know. Let's go together. We'll find our way together, eh?
Who are you?
Name's O'Reilly, a Canadian. I'm going to have tea with a friend in Morley Place. What's your address? Do you know the name of the street here?
I came out suddenly, unexpectedly. I can't find my way home again. Just when I was expecting him to...
I say steady, ma'am.
He may be there now, waiting for me this very moment, and I can't get back.
Have you any idea of the direction, ma'am? Any at all? We'll go together.
Listen. I hear him calling. I remember.
Wait, ma'am. Wait. Don't leave me here alone. I'm going with you. Wait. She was running fast through the fog. It was all I could do to keep up with her. But I felt I must not lose her or my own nerves would go to pieces. How she found her way in the fog, running so quickly, I didn't know, but I kept close on my heels, running hard. I could smell a faint perfume in the air, trailing behind her. A faintly familiar odor, but not pleasant. And then suddenly she stopped and turned into the gate, so suddenly that I almost bumped into her. Oh, is this in? You found it then. May I come in with you for a moment? Perhaps you'll let me telephone my doctor.
Doctor.
Yes, Dr. Henry at the Army Hospital. I'm in his care, you know.
My home is somewhere here. I'm near it. I must get back in time. For him. I must. He's coming to me.
I say, ma'am. But she turned and walked toward the house. For a moment I hesitated. This woman was acting very strangely. But no matter, she was at least real, and I needed help. Quickly, I followed her up the steps across the porch. The door was ajar. She slipped through, and I followed into the dark house. It was so dark inside, I couldn't see anything at first. I stopped, groping. But she went on quickly, easily, as if she knew the way. She was ignoring me completely. I heard her steps cross the hall, go up the stairs quickly. I waited and listened. She walked along the hall upstairs.
Where? Oh, where is it? I must find it.
And now the hair on my neck felt as if it were rising. Was she, after all, another of my figures? Was she unreal, too?
At last, I've found it. I'm home again.
I heard her open the door upstairs, go in and close it after her. Then there was silence, profound silence. And I was alone in a dark, unoccupied house. The white-covered furniture in the hallway loomed like ghosts. And there was no sound. I felt my panic coming back. But she was upstairs. And at least she was companionship. I groped my way up the stairs, along the upstairs hall. There was no sign of life. Where are you? I want to help you. Which room are you in? There was no answer. But as I put my hand on a table to steady myself, I felt something. It was a candle stump. With a gasp of relief, I took it up and lighted it. Now I could see a little. One by one, I tried the bedrooms. They were dusty and unused. The furniture covered, the mattresses rolled up on the beds. They were all alike. Until I opened the last door. Instantly, I knew this was it. I smelled the perfume. Only now I recognized it, understood why it was unpleasant to me. It was the smell of a hospital, of chloroform. And there was the woman, her dark fur coat wrapped around her, her jewels just showing at the neck. And she was stretched out on the bed, motionless. Instantly, I knew she was dead. In the next instant, I thought I would go mad. The blood on her face was congealing. Her skin was cold. I knew then that she'd been dead for an hour at least. And that what I saw in the street was not real. This was the shock that Dr. Henry had warned me to avoid.
And what happened then?
Well, I heard the door open up downstairs. Someone came in. The one she'd been expecting, no doubt. And suddenly I realized the danger of my being found there beside a woman who had obviously been murdered. Well, I slipped into another bedroom, and when he went into that room with her, I slipped out and crept downstairs. I stumbled and he heard me, and I came out. I ran down and out into the fog, into the street and away. How long I ran or where, I don't know. When I was exhausted, I stopped. And then you came and found me. Well, what do you think? Tall tale, isn't it?
Yes. Strange, but not incredible. I see no reason to disbelieve anything you've told me. Things equally remarkable, equally incredible happen every day in a big city. I know from personal experience. Oh, I could give you many instances.
But the woman, I saw her, and yet she was already dead.
Such things are hard to explain, perhaps cannot be explained, except, of course, your mind in its present state may still play tricks on you. Perhaps you saw a woman in the fog and followed her. You may have missed her and only thought you saw her go into that house.
But what about the dead woman? She was real enough.
Perhaps, perhaps not. She, too, may have been just fantasy. You may never have left the street.
No, I'm sure of that, at least. I must believe it. She was real, and the man who came up the stairs was real. If I didn't believe that, I think I should go mad.
Yes, perhaps that is important. Then, let me see. Have you any proof of what you saw? Something perhaps that you carried away with you?
None. But wait. I left something there. My hat. I left it on the bed beside her body. My initials were in it.
Ah?
And so if it was all real, I shall be getting a visit from the police one day soon.
Perhaps.
And then I'll know. And I'll be charged with murder.
I don't think so.
You think the police would believe this fantastic story?
As I told you, many strange things happen in a city like this. For instance, I knew of a similar case many years ago. Strangely similar case. Almost a coincidence. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, I suppose so.
It happened during the last war. A colleague of mine, a surgeon now dead, married a charming girl, young and beautiful. He was wealthy, and they lived comfortably for many years. They seemed happy together. Then came the war, and he went overseas. His income was stopped, of course. The big house closed. His wife found life not so pleasant as before. And somehow she blamed her new hardships on him. You see, she was devoid of imagination, without any power for sacrifice. But she was still young and beautiful. The inevitable young man came along to console her. He was rich. They planned to go off somewhere. Only by chance, the husband came back from overseas suddenly. Just in the nick of time.
Well, he should have let her go. He was well rid of her, I'd say.
Well rid of her, yes. Only he decided to make the riddance final. He decided to kill her and her lover. You see, he loved her. He planned the time and place carefully. They met, he knew, in the big house, now closed. He waited for them there. The plan failed, however, in one important detail. She came at the appointed time, but without her lover. She found death waiting for her. Oh, completely painless death. But the lover did not come. The door had been left open for him. The house was deserted, and it was a foggy night like tonight. But he did not come. Instead, a stranger came.
Hi. And where was the surgeon all this time?
Waiting outside, concealed in the fog. He saw the man go in, and he followed in to kill him. But the man was a stranger. He came in by chance, like you, to shelter from the fog.
I think that I should...
Why, what is the matter, sir?
Why, I really must be going.
Oh, of course, if you wish.
Thank you for your kindness and hospitality.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, young man. I enjoyed your story, although I confess I expected one a little different. Your coat.
Thank you.
I'll walk with you to the door and give you the directions. Ah, you're in luck. I think the fog's lifting a bit.
Doctor, may I ask, your friend, the surgeon, was he ever caught?
Ah, that's the part of the story I don't know. He was clever enough so that I doubt it. Unless he told somebody, made a confession.
I see.
And even so, unless that other person had some proof. Oh, by the way, you can't walk about in the fog without a hat. Here, it's an extra one of mine. You needn't trouble to return it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I went out of his consulting room with the hat on my head. In 10 minutes, I was at the tube station. It was only there that I permitted myself to take off the hat and look at it. It was my own. The hat I had left on the bed beside the dead woman.
Escape is produced and directed by William N. Robeson, and tonight brought you Confession by Algernon Blackwood, adapted for radio by John Dunkel, with Bill Conrad as O'Reilly, Ramsey Hill as the doctor, and Peggy Weber as the woman in the fog. Music was conceived and conducted by Cy Feuer. Next week,
you are trapped in the dark maze of the native quarter of Mozambique. A dead man at your feet, the police closing in around you. And beside you is a girl with whom you must escape.
Next week, we escape with Percival Gibbons' fast-moving adventure, Second Class Passenger. Good night, then, until this same time next week, when again we offer you Escape. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Nestle's Ever Ready, the instant cocoa. Nestle's Quick for great chocolate milk. And Nestle's Chocolate Bars now presents Space Patrol! High adventure in the wild, vast reaches of space. Visions of daring in the name of interplanetary justice. Travel into the future with Buzz Corey, Commander-in-Chief of the Space Patrol! In today's transcribed Space Patrol adventure, Buzz and Happy have been taken back millions of years through time and forced out of Scarno's spaceship in a tropic jungle on the planet Earth. Take care of that car pit, huh? I was stuck in this stuff at a bad time getting in. Captain Rockets, what was that? That's what I think it is. We're in trouble. Hey, Commander, look. Coming out of the jungle. It's a monster. Tyrannosaurus. The biggest dinosaur that ever lived. It must be 50 feet high. That's good. It makes sense. Look at those trees. It's probably look up in one bunch. It saw us, Hap. Run! We'll return in just a moment with today's exciting Space Patrol adventure, The Monster from the Past.
It's quicker than a jet flight. It's quicker than the speed of light. It's Nestle's Quick, the miracle product that mixes so quick it gives you chocolate milk in seconds. Fellas and girls, have you tried instant Nestle's Quick? Nothing was ever so speedy. Here's all you have to do to get perfect chocolate milk. First, pour out your big, cold, frosted glass of milk. Then add 2 teaspoons of Nestle's Quick. That's right. You pour the milk first, then you add Quick. Spoon it around once or twice, and there's your chocolate milk. Why, it practically makes itself. And wait till you taste that flavor. Quick is just like those great Nestle's chocolate bars. Yes, sir, it's got that special Nestle's chocolate taste, that special Nestle's chocolate richness, that special Nestle's chocolate smoothness. It's a real soda fountain treat right in your own home. You're going to love having wonderful Nestle's Quick with meals and for snacks and before bedtime. And you can tell Mom that Quick is good for you because it's fortified with vitamin D. And the more Quick you drink, the more milk you drink. So she's sure to approve. Ask Mom to get that big brown and yellow can of Nestle's delicious, most chocolate, quickest treat in the universe. That's Q-U-I-K. Nestle's Quick.
And now, today's Space Patrol adventure, The Monster from the Past. Commander Corey is using every facility of the Space Patrol in his search for the elusive criminal Dr. Ryland Scarno. Ordinary methods of detection have proven futile because Scarno is able to escape capture by traveling through time, and no one can follow him. At this moment, Scarno is in Saturn City visiting an accomplice, Joseph Murk. Murk is examining some rough, uncut stones that Scarno has handed to him. Perfect, Dr. Scarno. Perfect. Every bit as good as the last one.
Actually, Scarno, before I peddle any more of these diamonds, I want to know where you got them.
That's the case for a stone. That's good.
I found them on Earth in South Africa.
That's a big country. Where in South Africa? Kimberley. You discovered a new field? No. I discovered an old one. I've been back in time. Back to the 19th century. Oh, well, it's true, these rumors I've heard about your time, sir. Yes. I stole a star drive space shuttle. The hyperspace computer is slightly out of adjustment. By accident, I discovered that the mechanism can be used to travel through time as well as through space. Yes. And wonderful. The possibilities. Possibilities are right in front of you. Diamonds. You brought them into the 30th century? Exactly. Diamonds were discovered in South Africa in the year 1867. A hunter accidentally found several stones along the Orange River in a hood town. History books describe the exact site in the tape. And you went back to the time of those stones. I went back to 1866, 1 year earlier. Now, listen, you don't make money in a hurry. I've got an idea that'll bring us several thousand credits in a couple of days. Go ahead. I'm listening. Did you ever hear of the island of Mauritius? No. What about it? It's east of Africa, a few hundred miles off the coast of Madagascar. What's on this island? Diamond? Gold? No. Birds. Birds? With millions in diamonds, you talk about birds. Wait. Hundreds of years ago, a strange and rare type of bird lived on this island. But it was slaughtered by the thousands and became extinct. No living bird of this species was ever seen after 1681. I'm not interested. Arnold, do you realize how valuable one of these birds would be if we could bring it alive into the 30th century? Scientific foundation of the bird fortune. Well, immediately. I have connections with the leading zoos and bird banks. Remember, Stan, a diamond requires time and craftsmanship to increase its value. The bird can be sold just as it is. Tell me about this island. Elsewhere, Buzz and Happy are on the planet Earth, where Buzz has been consulting with mathematicians and electronics experts on the problem of time travel. Between meetings, the Commander and Happy are visiting the Washington Zoological Gardens at the invitation of the curator, Dr. Dawson. What was it Dr. Dawson wanted to show us? Some new exhibit that just came in. He wouldn't tell me what it was, but it sounds pretty exciting. Right now, I'm more interested in what those scientists are finding out. If they can only find a way to make the solar 5 through time, we can capture stars. We've got the best brains in the solar system working on it. So far, there's nowhere near a solution. Infernal's hyperspace control is a freak effect, is that it? I don't know. Still got to find out why, but something might happen to other star drive ships. Yeah? The ships could suddenly disappear into the past or into the future, and you never know what happened to them. Right. Well, maybe something happened to Skynet. That could explain why we haven't had any reports on it for several days. I'm not so sure we haven't, Craig. Skyner's best bet is to bring small items of great value from the past into the present. Oh, like the pirate treasure we brought back the first time. Yes. A dealer on Saturn received some diamonds from an amateur Gettysburg. He told the dealer he found the uncut stones on Venus on a honeymoon trip. He could have. I mean, there are diamonds on Venus. Yes, but so far none of this particular type. They're similar to diamonds from some region of Earth. Chiefly South Africa. However, this Joseph Merck could have been telling the truth. Joseph Merck? Oh, that's the man who sold the diamond. Yes. Here comes Dr. Dawson.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Commander.
You've had plenty to keep us interested, Doctor.
I'll say. You must have every bird in the universe in those cages.
No, not quite. But I'm going to show you gentlemen something that will more than make up for any omission.
You mean the new exhibit?
Yes. Now, if you just come down the path to the next stage, please.
Sure.
If anyone had told me a week ago that there was any such bird as this in existence, I would have laughed in the person's face.
What kind of a bird is it?
Oh, I want you to see it before I tell you. Frankly, I am more excited about this bird than I've been about anything in years. Well, what do you think of it?
Sure funny looking. Well, a great big body, a little scrawny wings. Don't tell me it can fly.
No, it cannot walk very well either.
I shouldn't think so. Those short, stubby legs.
I hate to get in the way of a big hooked beak.
Gentlemen, for more than 1,000 years, the bird was believed to be extinct. The last reliable report on any living bird of this species dates back to 1681.
Well, I give up, Dr. Dawson. What is it?
That gentleman is a dodo.
A dodo? I never heard of it. Well, except in the expression, that is a dodo.
The phrase refers to this very bird. In the 16th century, there were plentiful on the islands of Mauritius, in the Indian Ocean. But for less than 200 years, they had all been killed or sold as stocks.
Amazing, Doctor. How did you get this one?
And let me show on the pile you've got it.
I
Ornithologist, an expert on birds. He found it in the interior of Madagascar. As you may know, Madagascar is a few hundred miles from Mauritius, the original Dodo Island.
And for hundreds and hundreds of years, a few of these birds managed to survive in Madagascar.
Very good. In fact, this Dodo may be one of the last two in existence. The ornithologist has the other one. I made arrangements to find something to watch.
Dr. Dawson, would you mind telling me the name of this ornithologist who discovered the Dodo?
No, not at all. The man's name is Milk. Joseph Milk.
Joseph Milk. Does he live in Saturn City?
Yes. He's going to ship the other Dodo to me as soon as I send him the money.
Dr. Dawson, just call him off a day or so and tell him I have a pass.
Now, please, Commander, I hope nothing will happen to upset the present arrangement. I simply must have these people.
Don't worry about that. After I talk with Merck, you'll either get the Dodos for the agreed price, or you'll get them absolutely free. And in Saturn City, Joseph Merck goes about the exacting task of cutting and polishing the rough diamond. Scarno stands over him impatiently.
Isn't there some way to speed that up, Merck? Isn't it the same diamond you started on this morning? What's the matter? Why are you stopping?
Scarno, shaping a diamond is a very delicate operation. I can't do it and answer your idiotic questions at the same time.
I'm on edge, I guess. What about that zookeeper? Wasn't he supposed to contact you about the other Dodo?
Just be patient. Now that he has one of them, he'll just have to have the other one. I know Dawson's place.
What's that?
The visitors so quick. Get those two out of town. Take it easy. This whole bench slide right back into the wall. Watch it. There you are. You better go in the back room, Scarno.
All right. Get rid of them quickly, understand?
Yes? I'm Commander Corey of the Space Patrol. I'm looking for Joseph Merck. Hi, Merck. What can I do for you? I'd like to talk to you about your deal with Dr. Dawson. Deal? Involving a certain rare bird. I'll do it. Forgive me if I don't understand why the Space Patrol is concerned about this. After all, there's no question of fraud. Dr. Dawson's convinced that the bird I left with him is a real Dodo.
Yes, I know. But as I understand it, you have another Dodo here in Saturn. Okay?
Yes. Just to be delivered to Dr. Dawson, but he reached certain financial terms.
Then you admit bringing a Dodo from Earth to Saturn. Of course. When any form of wildlife is brought from one planet to another, it must pass through clearance. No spaceport on Earth or Saturn has any record of inspecting a Dodo.
You can't be serious. There's no dangerous disease. I've brought dozens of birds from one planet to another, and not one has been a carrier of harmful bacteria.
Yes, I know. That's true of 30th century birds, but it may not be true of birds from the 16th century.
Commander, from the way you talk, one would think you're suggesting that these two birds were actually alive in the 16th century.
That's exactly what I am suggesting, Mr. Knight.
You believe the bird is 1,400 years old?
Well, I believe you transplanted two birds from the 16th century into the present.
Serious, such a thing is impossible.
Well, if you have a star-drive spaceship, it'll go back into the past. Mr. Merck, you recently sold some diamonds, I believe.
Yes, I did. Diamonds I found on Venus.
Are you sure they didn't come from Earth? If you can travel in time, you can get back to the time and the place the diamonds are plentiful. Or where dodos swarm like pigeons in the forest.
This is all ridiculous. I've committed no crime.
Perhaps you know someone who has. Ryland Scarno, for instance.
Ryland Scarno? I've never heard of it.
Well, I just we'll see how you react to anything. Now, if you show me where that other dodo is, I'll put it in quarantine.
Don't be necessary, Corey.
Look out, Commander. It's Scarno.
Now, don't be worried. The first slight move from either of you, and I'll drop you.
Scarno, it's going with the whole setup.
It's not going to do him any good. Your Commander, I took you back into the past to get rid of you.
It didn't work?
Only because I made the mistake of returning to that same instant of time. This time, there'll be no mistake.
They get into the ship while they're still unconscious.
They're going back into the past, Merck, and they'll never return. We'll return to Space Patrol in just a moment.
Say, Captain Seatbelt, if you had 3 wishes, what would you wish for, huh?
Well, Tony, let me think.
I know what I'd wish for. You want to hear?
Sure.
I wish I owned a glass factory first,
Well, that's kind of strange. What's your next wish?
I wish I owned all the cows in the world.
Oh, now I'm beginning to get it. And your third wish would be?
To have cans of Nestle's Quick whenever I snap my fingers.
That's certainly sensible, Tony. You know, with your factory, you'd always have nice big glasses. With your cows, you'd get all the cold milk you'd need. And then you'd drop in your Nestle's Quick and have a never-ending supply of the world's most sensational chocolate milk.
Boy, I sure love Nestle's Quick. The kid's milk is chocolate bar flavored. So good, rich, and delicious. Golly, I can make my own glass of Quick whenever I like. And all I do is pour the glass of milk and then drop in 2 teaspoons of Quick. Quick mixes instantly.
In fact, Tony, Nestle's Quick practically makes itself. It's that fast and that simple. And Quick is such a treat. It's like having a soda fountain right in your own home.
And all it takes is a glass, some cold milk, and 2 spoonfuls of wonderful Nestle's Quick. And say, Big Boys, you tell your mom that Quick makes milk taste so great, you'll be drinking lots more of it. And that's sure to please your tummy. Remember, you want Nestle's Quick in the big brown and yellow can.
And now, back to our space patrol adventure, The Monster from the Past. Commander Corey learned that the hunter who captured 2 specimens of the supposedly extinct dodo is the same man who claimed to have found some valuable diamonds on Venus. Now, to Buzz, this coincidence suggested the work of Dr. Scarno and his ship and travels through time. While Buzz and Happy were questioning the amazingly lucky hunter, Dr. Scarno rendered them unconscious with a ray gun. At this moment, Buzz and Happy are captives aboard Scarno's ship somewhere in space.
Seems to me we've been in Stargate an awful long time.
I stopped figuring what we're going to do, huh? Once Scarno took us off this ship, we'll be back in some past period of time with no regular time.
Then whatever we do, we've got to do it before the ship lands.
Hold it, huh?
Just relax, Corey. If you force me to use this ray gun again, it may be very bad for all of us.
Something wrong?
I'm not sure. We seem to be holding in star drive for an unusually long time. I want you to check the hyperspace computer.
Suppose we don't. Suppose we like it in Stargate.
If you think this situation is giving you an advantage, you're mistaken, Cadet. There is an error in the computer. Each second may be magnifying that error.
That's true, Scarno. It could become lost in a strange dimension for all we know.
Well, there's your choice, Commander. Repair the computer and be sure of a chance of survival. Or be stubborn and meet an unknown fate in the nothingness of hyperspace.
All right. Let me look at the computer. While Happy, Scarno, and Joseph Merck look on, Buzz checks the baffling maze of circuits in the hyperspace computer. Carefully, he makes delicate adjustments of the complex instruments. Then replaces the camera.
Is it fixed?
I don't know. Remember, this particular computer was out of alignment to begin with. That's why you're able to travel in time.
What did you do to it?
One group of circuits was working against another. I brought them into balance.
Yes, but I don't notice any change.
Listen. What's happening? Hey, we're coming out of Star Drive. Look through the ports. We're in regular space. He's right. The blackness is gone. There are stars out there.
Look, keep an eye on Corey and the cadet. We've got to find out where we are.
I think we're in the solar system. Constellations look familiar, and that planet over there could be Jupiter.
Well, if that's Jupiter, then that other planet in the starboard viewport must be Earth.
Well, I had the computer set correctly after all. All Corey did was bring us out of Star Drive.
Yeah? You still don't know what century you're in. Scarno, let's land on Earth and put Corey and the cadet out of the ship. We don't care what century they're stranded in.
You'd better care if you want to return to the 30th century.
He's right, man. We've got to know our exact space-time coordinates.
The planet we're headed for, that can't be Earth. That's right. The shape of the continents are all different. That isn't Earth, Scarno.
Corey, what's happened?
The Earth can change quite a bit over several million years.
A million, did you say?
Scarno's time machine evidently stripped its gears. Could be skipped back a few centuries. It's bounded back by eras and metrics. How far back?
Tell me, Corey. How far?
I've been checking over the computer. I say around 140 million years. Give or take 10 million.
140 million years?
So that would be the Mesozoic era. And probably the Jurassic period. What I can see in the viewscope, there's a lot of vegetation on that planet. Yes, giant ferns on top of the plants for the most part. You see age of reptiles, lizards of all types, dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs? You mean those prehistoric monsters? Well, not all monsters, but that is real when they're no bigger than common house cats.
Corey, I'm going to give you a very great honor. You and the cadet are going to be the first human beings to see living dinosaurs.
You're going to put us out of the ship this far back in the past?
Why not? With your superior intelligence, you should be able to survive.
A few hours later, Scarno sets the spaceship down on a small area of high ground in the midst of a steaming marsh. Around the ship is a jungle of giant ferns and conifers. Holding ray guns, Scarno and Mert forced Buzz and Happy toward the open hatch.
This is where we say goodbye, Corey. Go on, get out of the ship.
We're going to have to answer for this someday, Scarno.
I'll take that chance. Now go on, get out.
Scarno, look. See over there to the right? It's a big lizard. A baby dinosaur. Scarno, if we can take that with us to the 30th century, it'd be worth a fortune. Let's capture it.
Capture that for now? Are you crazy, man?
We can stun it with a ray gun. At the most, it weighs 200 pounds. We can make Corey and the cadet carry it into the ship.
I don't like the idea of being in a spaceship with a live dinosaur.
Keep it unconscious. Besides, it's not a meat eater. Look, see? It's nibbling on water plants at the edge of the pool.
Is it worth the trouble?
Worth the trouble? Look what we've got for two dodos, and they've only been extinct a few centuries. This thing is 140 million years old. It's worth its weight in uranium.
All right, Scarno. You make Corey and the cadet carry the dinosaur. I'll wait here in the ship until Corey...
Dinosaur hasn't hurt us yet. Suppose the ray gun doesn't work. I'll take several blasts to knock it out. I think it heard us. It's raising its head. Right here. Don't move. What's that sound? It's free of fire away from the light. Now it's up over that floor. It's working way around the world that's tied up with a closer to the light. I can cut that thing clean enough. It's stuck enough stuff out of the right hand, but come on. The dinosaur's going back to eating. Oh, the rockets. What was that?
It scared away our baby dinosaur.
I'm getting back to the ship. Commander, look. It's coming out of the jungle. It's a monster.
It's a Tyrannosaurus.
It must be 50 feet high. It's looking around. Oh, look at the size of those teeth. It could gobble a man up in one bite. You two stand back. I'm running for the ship. Stand still. Merc, you idiot! Merc, use your ray gun! It won't stop that thing! It may slow it down! Shoot! It's still coming. Ah! I'm stuck! Help me! Merc's falling into the tar pit.
We can keep that tar pit between us and the dinosaur.
They can run 3 times as fast as we can. Commander, it's stuck. It's stuck in the tar.
I hope it's deep enough to hold the dinosaur while we pull Merc out. Come on.
Help me! Pull me out!
Give me a hand, Merc. Now, brace your feet. Grab me around the waist.
Now, pull. Getting in. Once more. Pull. We have to the ship before that thing gets loose. Scarno, he's blasting off. Scarno, don't leave me here. Don't leave me! He's gone. He left me here in a world full of monsters. We can't survive in a world like this. We're helpless.
Right now, the safest place is right here by this target. There's our life insurance. Bogged down Tyrannosaurus.
Huh?
Every living thing is afraid of that monster. No other dinosaur is going to come close until this one sinks into the tar and disappears. Hours pass, and the steaming fern jungle is silent. In the tar pit, the huge dinosaur struggles grow weaker, and the vast 20-ton bulk sinks deeper into the black mire. Buzz, Happy, and Mert, prisoners in prehistoric time, remain close to the tar pit.
I'm getting hungry. I wonder if we could find some fruit or something like that.
I doubt it. We're in the Mesozoic period, where the olive plants are still.
That's right. Fruit-bearing trees won't emerge for millions of years. My stomach isn't going to wait.
If Mert hadn't dropped his ray gun into the tar pit, might be able to stun some small lizards.
Lizards? Guess I'm not hungry after all. Commander, listen. Am I crazy, or is that a spaceship?
A ship, all right. Scarno, I've been expecting him.
Expecting him? Why? Why would he come back?
I imagine he had some trouble getting out of the Mesozoic era.
He tampered with a hyperspace computer.
I fixed it so it wouldn't go back into star travel.
Here he comes in for a landing. Oh, I'll bet he's praying his heart out that we're still alive.
Now, come on. Let's see what kind of offer Scarno will make us for a little advice on time travel. Wait right here.
Stand right where you are. I've got you covered. Hail Scarno. We of the Mesozoic era salute. Get up to this. Hey, Corey, what did you do to the hyperspace computer?
It's a little complicated, Scarno. I'd have to show you.
And your price for that, I suppose, is a return to the 30th century.
Plus your immediate surrender. Hand over your weapon.
Not so fast, Corey. Given a little time, I could probably locate the trouble myself. I'll be perfectly safe inside the ship, and you'll be at the mercy of the dinosaurs.
Hey, Commander. It's another Tyrannosaurus.
Yes. Probably searching for its mate there in the cockpit. You'd better accept my terms, Corey.
What are they?
Get the ship back to the 30th century, and I'll release you unharmed. You haven't much choice, Corey.
All right. I'll get you back to the 30th century.
With Merc guarding Buzz and Happy, Scarno blasts off from Earth. Then, out in space, Buzz corrects the hyperspace computer and plots a vector for a return to the 30th century. The ship cuts into star drive, and after anxious moments emerges into regular space. The others wait expectantly as Buzz makes an astrogation check.
Checks out, Scarno. The positions of the stars and planets show we're back in the true present. By real star time, it's just 9 hours since we blasted off from Saturn.
How can you tell so exactly?
By the positions of Saturn's moons. If you don't believe me, tune in a pair of time signal frequency on the spaceophone.
I believe you. And now, Commander...
And now you can release us. I suggest Mars. You can land near a settlement and blast off without being seen.
And then you continue your attempt to capture me. No, Corey. I'm putting you both out into space right now.
But Scarno, you promised if we brought you back to the 30th century...
Yeah, but that promise was made 140 million years ago. Merc, use your ray gun on me. We're twisting out into space. Merc, look out!
Drop it, Merc! Oh, wait!
Don't move, Corey. Come any closer and I'll shoot.
Don't be a fool, Scarno. That's a blaster. It'll tear a hole in the ship.
If I hit you first, I'm warning you. All right, Corey.
Give me that gun.
That's a fool thing to do, Hap.
Yes, sir?
Keep Merc and Scarno covered. I'll see if that blast gun tore a hole in the ship.
If there was a leak, we'd know it by now.
It's going to recharge. Oh, here's what saved us.
The instrument panel. Oh, it sure would have shown us on it. If it didn't wreck the control.
No, the control section's okay. But it looks like we're not only the first human beings to see a live dinosaur, but also the last.
What do you mean, sir?
The hyperspace computer's wrecked. Fused into a mass of junk. Well, we'll never know what made it able to travel through time.
Well, I guess maybe it's just as well. From what I've seen of the past, I'm convinced there's no time like the present.
An action preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol adventure in just a moment.
What's new?
Nestle's new.
Nestle's what?
Coconut. Ah, that's my favorite verse, Commander, because I sure go for Nestle's great new coconut bar.
So I see, Hap. Are you practically gone through the entire month's supply already?
Oh, gee, Commander, I just can't help myself. When I bite into that luscious, thick, rich milk chocolate just loaded with crisp, toasted coconut, I sort of lose my head. I got to keep eating.
I'll admit there never has been such a delicious chocolate bar as the new Nestle's coconut bar.
Well, except maybe those other sensational Nestle's chocolate bars. You know, the rich milk chocolate, the almond bar, and wonderful crunch.
Stop. Now you're making me hungry.
Oh, what are we waiting for? Be my guest, Commander. Have a Nestle's chocolate bar. And that goes for you, too, fellas and girls. Remember, Nestles. Nestle's makes the very best chocolate.
Now, a preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol adventure. Buzz and Happy are aboard the Terra 5, rushing toward the planet Saturn. Suddenly, another ship fires at them.
That was close, Commander. He's getting his range with those torpedoes.
We'll try evasive action.
Why don't we give Brokaw some of his own medicine? A few blasts with our space cannon and
we can't shoot. We've got to think about those people in Saturn City. If we destroy Brokaw, we destroy the only person who can cure that epidemic.
Smoking rockets, we can't fight back. So all Brokaw has to do is keep firing until he hits us.
Be with us again next week for the thrilling Space Patrol story, The Weed of Despair. Space Patrol, created by Mike Moses, starring Ed Kemmer as Commander Corey and Lynn Osborne as Cadet Happy, was written by Lou Houston, produced and directed by Larry Robertson, executive producer Helen Moser. Other players were Bela Kovach, Ken Mayer, Norman Jolly, and Tony Sides. Dick Tufel speaking. This week's Space Patrol was brought to you by Nestle's Ever-Ready, the instant cocoa. Nestle's Quick for great chocolate milk, and famous Nestle's chocolate bars. This program is broadcast to our armed forces overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Space Patrol came to you transcribed from Hollywood. This is ABC Radio Network.